Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video we're going to be talking GPU mining coins and whether or not right now is a very good time to be stacking, right? Which hint hint, it's looking pretty good right now. So we're going to talk about different coins, we're going to look at what I'm looking at, things to consider, and kind of like bull market predictions, right? We're going to focus heavy on the market cap to look at the potential of a lot of these coins. I know right now people are bearish, but we'll talk about that here in a second. So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned, all right? So let's get to this thing. So before we get started, none of this is financial advice. These are just my thoughts and opinions, what I'm doing, what I'm looking at, and why I'm looking at them. Another caveat here, with everything going on right now, do not be surprised if things go down further. So again, you got to do your risk versus reward. How much lower do you think it can go? A lot of stuff going on right now, right? A lot of stuff is coming out from the SBF trial. A lot of stuff going on the other side of the world. I'm not going to really harp on too much about it other than the fact that what's going to happen, right? They're going to find narratives to cling on to bring negative sentiment towards crypto, right? So I know like Elizabeth Warren, Gary Gensler, they're all going to be like touching on these things. Don't be surprised to see their narrative that crypto is funding terrorism. And then as far as the SBF trial goes, all the extreme manipulation that we're finding about now, right? So don't be surprised to see things come out because of that and these narratives to change, potentially dropping the prices more, right? So just keep that in mind. So I am nibbling. Potentially prices may go down further. We'll see. But we're going to go over just different coins, things to look at, things to consider, and tools I use to kind of see where things may go, right? So GPU mining right now, not looking too hot. Not many things are profitable. Dynex is, right? Kind of tricky though, right? We're in a point where we're kind of changing. We're finding different things that are profitable. We're kind of weeding out the garbage a little bit. And it's a little bit confusing because of the proof of useful work hype and everything going on there. And it's kind of confusing as to what hardware to lean in towards, right? Should we get the higher end stuff to prepare for proof of useful work? Should we get the typical go-tos? For those reasons, I'm kind of on the sideline, kind of just waiting more. As far as adding more hardware, what I am doing right now, I am buying a lot of these GPU mineable coins, right? Reason being is that my mindset, especially for these smaller cap coins, these are the only ones I'm really messing with. Anything out of the top 200, it's mainly GPU mineable coins, because those, to me, there's a lot that do have potential, right? So out of these GPU mineable coins, how many are going to really do well? We'll see. Time will tell. It's going to be up to your decision. So a lot of the ones I talk about aren't necessarily ones that I'm going to go into 100%. I'm going to go over a lot of the popular ones and reasons why it might be a good time to be stacking them, right? So it's up to you ultimately to decide which ones you are into, but these are things to take in consideration and the potential of a lot of these coins, right? We're going to compare them. We're going to compare them to previous bull markets and other market caps, right? So as we go into the projects, let me start actually with one other caveat. One that I am not too bullish on, aside from a few projects, are coins that are marketplaces for compute power, right? So there's going to be a big narrative because of the AI narrative. To me, there's already kind of like clear players in the space that are way ahead of the game. So any of these smaller ones that are following that narrative, to me, they're not going to make it for the bull market, right? Could they potentially do something? Sure, but realistically, I'm not a big fan of them only because we're going to see them pop up like every few weeks. We're going to see a new one. We're already seeing it, right? I know Core.ai has been around a little while. People are getting hyped there, but to me, again, there's already clear winners for that space, right? I'm going to give a couple examples, one being Render. This thing is already ranked number 52. A lot of money in this thing already. Right? Another one for all of us who are miners, we're all familiar with, is Flux. Right? To me, for us as miners, for us providing infrastructure, for something that's proof of work, this to me is going to be the clear leader in that space, right? We'll see how everything pans out, but to me, it's pretty clear, right? But just keep those things in mind. There are others. There's going to be like Akash. There's going to be other ones, but literally every day, like I just saw another one today, like io.net. There's going to be a ton of these stupid little marketplaces, just long-term wise. Again, a lot of these we're also going to mention are going to be like bull market holds, right? These other coins, some of them I do flip, like Chloride did mess with at the beginning of the year, was buying and flipping every like 2-3x. I'd sell, take profits, roll into something else, right? But those aren't necessarily ones I would believe in long term, because again, to me, there's kind of winners and leaders in that space already, right? So let's go to a big one. Well, before we get into this, actually, one question I've been getting a lot is if I am GPU mining. I actually am. I am mining Radiant right now. Reason being is because I'm not mining it solely on GPUs. All my GPUs, which is the fewer left, right? Those of you who have been following, I've been slowly downsizing. I'm down to one 10-card rig. I did have like a 4090 and some more 3080s. Those are gone. Now it's strictly 3070s, 3060 Ti's. Just a little 10-card rig, right? And it's all on Radiant. I'm a big advocate for not mining at a loss. I'm not going to get into that whole discussion. You do you on how you want to stack these coins, whether it's doing that or buying, where you're going to yield more coins that way. It's all up to you, though. But in this case, I am at a slight profit. Only reason being is because of the FPGAs that I purchased, right? If you guys remember, I did purchase a couple back in like March, April, specifically for this reason, right? To take advantage of future potential bit streams, because there's so many that, again, are following that route, that are core intensive, that are going to do that. And luckily, it's worked in our favor, as we kind of saw coming, and it's been working, right? So currently, I do have about 24 gigahash on Radiant. It's not super profitable, but again, right now the goal is break even or better, right? And so far, that's the case here, right? Is it break even with like Dynex and such? Yes, but there's potential for it to retrace just because it's been on such a high end, versus Radiant as a pretty good low for this time period. And it's still profitable for me, where it isn't for many others, which is why the hash rate and difficulty have been going down and the yields have been going up, making it even more better, essentially, right? So let's get into some of them. Let's get into Radiant first and where it's at currently. So it's currently at 0.0011, and it's a pretty good price, right? Again, whether you want to mine these things or stack them, however you want to get them, considering that just not too long ago, back in April, we were at a bear market high of 0.0074, right? So damn near 7x, right? So even if it just gets to that previous high, that's a pretty good amount. Not to mention the fact that what it can do in the bull market. So Radiant has been around a year, right? It's proven itself that it's not a rug. It's here, it's doing its thing, has a good community, has good activity, has good development. It's doing its thing. Am I super bullish on it because of what the tech? Not necessarily, right? But another caveat with a lot of these coins is they don't necessarily have to be like groundbreaking or like disruptive tech or something like crazy technology-wise, right? Even if it just does kind of the bare minimum, but the community's involved, it's active, it's doing its thing, that's enough to, if it rides the rest of the market, if it rides the bull market, because BTC brings everything up, still has immense potential, right? This market cap is only at a little over $9 million. Right, so ton of potential for growth. It's currently ranked number 908. And pay attention to the market caps. We're going to do comparisons at the end as to why that's important and why that's relevant for predicting how high these can potentially go, right? Next one, we're going to talk about Alium. So this is one that I am bullish on. To me, fundamental-wise, this is one of the better ones. Between this and Dynex, those would be number 1 and 2. Very solid team, very solid tech, very solid development, right? Between the sharding aspect, between the proof of less work aspect, tons of interesting stuff that they're doing, tons of interesting stuff in the pipeline, right? And this is another thing I will advocate for. Do deep dives on these projects. Read the white papers. Go on the Discords. Go in the community. Get a feel for the project. Get a feel for what they're doing, what's on the horizon, because that ultimately will make you more bullish or bearish on that project itself, right? A lot of these examples we're going to give, or a lot of these comparisons we're going to do, is if it just reaches a certain threshold, right? Which I think it will exceed that. So factor in that it could, especially if you see potential in it, could definitely way exceed that, right? And it's kind of funny because this is the same conversation we had last year at this time when we're talking about Caspa, right? Pretty interesting how that one turned out. That one panned out to be way more than I could have ever predicted, right? So these are the types of things you want to look for now and you want to potentially take advantage of, right? So whether, again, price-wise, this is pretty good price if we compare it on the 180-day chart. Let's go back to the 1 year. The previous high was in April. Again, a lot of these coins had this weird peak in March, April for some reason, but this one didn't go up as aggressively as some of the others, but also hasn't gone down as crazy as some of the others as well, right? So this one did hit about 42 cents in April. It's currently at 13 cents. So it's about a 3x if it hits that other high. So keep in mind, again, that's a bull market high. The only kind of downfall with this one, necessarily downfall, is it doesn't necessarily have a lot of the hype that the other ones do. For whatever reason, this one does not catch on like a lot of these others have caught on. This one has been around a bit longer. This one's going on about 2 years now. And we can see with the downtrend initially before that uptrend, it was just a lot of downwards action, right? But tech-wise, potential-wise, this one's checking all those boxes, right? And this one is, again, another super small market cap. This one's not even in the top 1,000 right now. It's a $7 million market cap, right? So extreme potential there as well. Next on the list, Nexa. So this one is another one. This one has been around quite a bit, and it's currently at really, really good prices. We look at the all-time chart as far as what's on CoinGecko goes, going back all the way to January till now, it's at like low all-time lows, right? It's currently at a bunch of zeros, 386. And this is one of the things that drives me nuts about this, and one thing that was a big turnoff with them is the supply number and the amount of zeros, right? To me, that's a huge turnoff. It reminds me of like poop coins, think like SHIB, things of that sort. But at the same time, that kind of works into the fundamentals factor. Reason being is if this one does take off, does do well, that's something a lot of newbies or people who aren't aware see and they get excited about, right? They like being able to have 20 million of a certain coin, even if it's only worth a couple of bucks or whatever, right? Because then they get in this mindset, oh, what if it hits a penny? I'm going to be a gajillionaire, et cetera, even though we know that it's all based off of market cap, right? Market cap is what's important. But that does play into the fundamentals. But for me, what has me most bullish on them is the project as a whole, right? Community's good, development is good, very active on Twitter, very active on all socials, and their team. I think what I'm most bullish on here is their team, which is by Bitcoin Unlimited, which is have a lot of BTC and BCH experience, right? So even by going on their website, their partnerships that they're doing, a lot of stuff going on, right? A lot of experience here, and it's something because of that, that's one that has extreme potential as well, right? Again, we look at the market cap. Again, this is only number 723 with only a market cap of under $15 million, right? So a lot of check marks here as well. Next on the list, dynex. So this is one that has done extremely well, especially recently, right? It's had a nice little run up. It's been crazy, and if we look at their 1 year chart, we can see what's kind of unique about it, and it's very similar to what we saw a year ago, last year, when we were talking about Caspa, referencing the exact same thing, that their chart was very unique in that it's not doing what the rest of the market's doing. It's kind of doing its own thing, and these are the things you really want to pay attention to, and that's exactly what I mentioned in that video from last year, that these are things that should be sending off signals like, maybe there's something here. Right, and we're kind of seeing that again here. It did have that big run up. I did sell all of mine at $1. At that point, I had 10x. I was good with what I made there. It did run down to like 50, 60 cents, but ultimately did run back up to $1.13, right? And ultimately it's down at 95 cents, which is still extremely good considering what's going on with the rest of the market right now. Again, these are the types of indicators you want to pay attention to. See what they're doing right now. See what's going on. See where the hype is. See where the potential is. This is one that is extremely popular with the miners. It has like 20% of the share. It's extremely efficient. It's not going to go FPG or ASIC because of the nature of the coin. It has the AI narrative. Has a lot of things going for it, right? So is it one that I would jump back in? Yes, I would be waiting for more of a retrace just because it already has run up a lot. But again, who knows if that happens? This is literally exactly what we said last year. I said the exact same thing as well, right? It's a lot of up and to the right. I was waiting for a bigger retrace to purchase more. Kind of never really happened, right? Just kind of kept doing its own thing and they're stepping all the way up. Again, just like I mentioned, that video I did in November. At that time, Caspa was just right around the 200 mark, right? Dynex is right at the 300 mark. Kind of funny how that's playing out, right? But something to take really big note of. It's just how well it's been doing, how well it's done, and how well it's going to continue to do. But factor in just where the market cap's at, right? It's, again, it's a in reality, it's a tiny market cap. It's only 68 million, but in comparison to the others, just keep in mind the potential for degenning into it, right? Realistically, this is one I would more be mining if it's break even or better, just because that's how I would accrue it. And then if there's significant dips, like if it goes down to 50, 60 cents again, then I would probably DCA a bit into, right? Next on the list is super unpopular, but it's one that I am into. I've been talking about it since last year. Same thing. And it's up to you, right? I know a lot of people hate this thing. It's VC garbage. You could think what you want. To me, the use case is there. Privacy is going to be a big thing, and it's something that is definitely needed, right? And hopefully by the end of this year, we're supposed to have that ETH bridge going. And to me, that's the one I'm most bullish on. ETH and BTC are the ones I would be excited about just because of the potential use cases. Again, if you see the potential there, like if you mess around with all these things, you see the potential. Like for me, Iron, extremely interesting, especially on ETH, because the privacy layer is needed greatly, right? Especially with people who are like into NFTs, have all these wallets. I mean, a lot of people learned, unfortunately, and it was one of the weird things that stood out when I messed around with NFTs back in 21, back when all that hype was like crazy, is the fact that you can go into anybody's wallet and just see everything that they own, right? And it was easy to like dox people. People weren't doing it intentionally. It's just that time they weren't thinking about it. But they were kind of doxing themselves, because what do they do with a lot of these NFTs? They use them as their profile pic, so it's easy to narrow down who it is. And they were essentially having big targets on their back for like phishing scams and things of that sort. And it's, so what people started doing is just having a lot of MetaMask wallets, right? Separating all their NFTs, different accounts. And I'm guilty of that too. I have like freaking 8, 9 freaking MetaMask wallets, right? But adding this privacy layer is something that's definitely needed. That way you can keep everything, you can lock everything up, right? Even with BTC, I'm sure a lot of whales are going to be using this. I'm sure they don't like seeing these like freaking $100 million transactions. They want to keep all that on the DL. And maybe this will be the coin that does it successfully, where it can be placed on the larger exchanges, right? Like we know there's Monero, we know there's all these other ones, but as far as like being able to reach like a Coinbase and things of that sort, maybe this will be the one that takes it there. Maybe not. It's up to you to decide. It's all on you, but again, I can see where the use case is there, and that's one reason that has me hyped on this one, right? Next on the list, this is an interesting one, and this is a very tiny market cap, and it's NUURI, XNA. So what has me curious here is not necessarily the project itself or the tech. I'm kind of like meh about it, but what's interesting are the tokenomics. So extremely interesting, because it has a very aggressive emission schedule in that first year. Okay, so this is one. The max supply is 21 billion. This current circulating supply after only a few months, again from CoinGecko, only goes back to mid-July. 8.5 billion are already out. Right, in comparison, let's look at like Radiant, for example, which is an easy comparison because it has the same max supply. They're both 21 billion. The circulating supply, even after more than a year, is 7.75 billion, right? So let's take just a quick peek at the tokenomics here. So if we look at it, they have what they call a micro halving. Every 10 days, the rewards go down by 5%. So it's extremely aggressive. So if we look at the coins that are mined per day, in the beginning, it was 72 million coins per day, and after 1 year, it's going to go down to 7.2 million. Right? So that's an extreme cut in just a matter of a year. Right? So pretty interesting. Currently, I didn't double check, but I think it's around halfway through right now. Right? So the yields were really good in the beginning, and they're going down further very quickly. Right? Again, that's an extreme cut. After that year, though, it does change. It kind of just stays at that level for the year. Then the following year, it goes down, and the following year, it goes down incrementally, right? But the biggest change is after that first year, which is extremely interesting, right? Again, it is a very small cap coin. It is new, but so far, it does seem fairly solid, right? Again, doesn't even have to necessarily do anything groundbreaking for it to do extremely well because of the scarcity factor that's going to come in over time, right? Especially by the bull market time. So is it one that, again, tech-wise, am I super bullish on it? Not necessarily, but the emissions has me interested, right? It's one that I would degen a couple $100 into and just hang on to it and see if it does anything right now, because especially because it's so cheap. Okay, again, I'm not advocating, I'm not saying do it or anything of that sort. It's just, this is an example of why it's important to like really look into these projects, look into the tokenomics, look at the circulating supplies, look at the emissions rates, look at what it's doing, look at the communities. That way you can really formulate a good opinion of what you want to dive into, right? So these are some examples. Let's go to another one. And this is one that played out very well for some of you guys who were mining this earlier on because it had a huge run up, right? So CONFLUX is still pretty big, even with this downtrend right now. It's number 87 by market cap, right? So the current market cap is 385 million, right? So it's pretty big. But just at the beginning of the year, in January of this year, it was at freaking 2 cents. It hit a peak in just a matter of months. In 2 months, it went from 2 cents, 46 cents, right? So this is one of those where it was that narrative. It's based out of China. They had some like cell phone SIM thing. I don't even remember what it was. It's been a while, but narrative is there. This is one you may want to accrue a bit just because there's a huge narrative for the Asia market for this bull market. Something to consider. Ultimately has gone down, so it's at 11 cents, but just again recently that March-April pump, which is super weird. If you look at almost all these coins, they all pumped around that time for some reason, and that was kind of like the bear market high. But it, again, 46 cents is down to 11 cents. Even if it just reaches that high, it's 46 cents, right? So the reason I was saying pay attention to the market cap, one is that's how we can kind of judge, not just judge, but see potentials, right? So again, even like I was mentioning, it doesn't necessarily have to do like great things where it's cracking the top 50 like Caspa. Even if it just reaches the top 200, even if it reaches just the top 500 in the bull market, a lot of these are going to be huge, right? Let's take a look at why. So on CoinMarketCap, you can look at you can do historical snapshots, meaning you can go back to a certain date and look at what market caps were, look at what the top coins were. You can look at different things historically, right? So if we look at the previous bull market, this is for November 14th of 21. BTC at the time was at 65K. This is when life was good. But let's take a look at something, right? So what if we were to reach $100 million market cap? Where would that bring us, right? And this is what's kind of like mind-blowing with this thing. So even it's down to coin number 478, has a $99 million market cap. So if you think any of these coins, and remember, this is back then numbers. Hopefully, the entire market cap goes up more significantly. But even if it doesn't, even if it just reaches these numbers, if it just cracks $100 million market cap, which is just the top 500, which to me, a lot of these we talked about definitely have that potential, right? It's a crap ton of money. Let's look at Alium, for example. Solid project. I believe it can easily reach the top 500 and remain there in the bull market, right? It's only at a $7 million market cap. Okay, that's like a 16x. Okay, so factor that in. Even if it just cracks the top 500. If it goes beyond that, then it just goes up exponential. Like, I kind of hate doing these boom boy things, but you do kind of need that reminder as to why we're doing what we're doing and the potential of what can happen in the bull market. Again, none of this is guaranteed. Who knows? Maybe it's a dud. Maybe the 4-year cycles are duds and this doesn't happen again, but just remember the potential. Remember why we're here. Remember why we're doing what we're doing, right? And remember why we want to take advantage when we can, right? So just think about that, right? Even if it just cracks the top 500, okay? Another thing to factor in is this is a pretty cool website. This is another tool I kind of use to also gauge where potential may land in certain things. Thecoinperspective.com. And all this is doing is just comparing market caps, right? You can put 2 coins in. You could put whatever coin and compare it to if it reaches the market cap currently of this coin, how much it can do, right? So currently the base that I'm going to compare it to with all of these will be Ravencoin. Why? Because it's not necessarily anything groundbreaking. It's something that's just community driven, and that's what keeps it going. And it kind of just stays in the flow as the rest of the market goes up, it also goes up, right? So again, that's why it doesn't necessarily have to be groundbreaking. If it has a solid community, that might be enough just to get it to crack the top 500, or even go beyond that, even go up to like where Raven Coin's at, or somewhere around there, right? So just factor these things in. And keep in mind also, again, this is only comparing if it were to reach Raven Coin's current market cap. Add in the fact of what the market cap may potentially become the bull market, right? So if Radiant were to just hit Raven's Coin's market cap currently, potential for 17x, right? Do I see that being possible? Yeah. Is it super duper likely? I think so, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. And regardless of what coins you choose, which ones you pick, again, this is a very interesting choice, not just for like these GPU, but for any coins you're interested in DCing in general, right? That way you can see potentials of these things. Alium, right? Again, this is why the market cap matters, because again, the lower the market cap, the higher the potential upside, right? But also the higher the likelihood of it. Maybe it doesn't succeed, maybe it goes to zero, who knows? But again, this is why you need to come up with your choice of your coins. But these are the tools I use to kind of gauge where I'm at, right? So even if Alium were to just reach where Raven Coin's currently at, that's a 23x. It's huge, guys. Huge, huge, huge. Nexa being a smaller market cap, but I would have more confidence in this one meeting this point and then exceeding that, right? This is a possible 10x. Freaking NUURI, even with this recent uptrend. So this is one thing to factor in. This one, just as of a couple days ago, was at 0.0003. And it was hovering in that range for a while. It just recently had this pump. Even with this pump, 36x, right? And this is why I mentioned that none of these coins necessarily have to be groundbreaking. They just have to continue where they're at, continue the momentum they're on, and that might be enough to have huge gains. Factor in that if you do see extreme potential in any of these, if you think they're going to do extremely well, kind of like how Caspa did, then you can multiply that by even more. Right? So who knows where we go? It's all up to you, but it's all up to you to figure out what you want to get into. These are just some examples, some things to think about, and how I kind of like come up with the numbers, right? I always harp on making a goal, having these accumulation goals, and that's part of it, right? A lot of it's based off of the market cap, where I think it can reach a comparable coin, like where it went, and that's how I base off my accumulation goals. Right? I'm kind of trying to be more pessimistic, trying to be on the lower end. Hopefully they do way better. But that's how I come up with these goals and how I come up with these numbers that I'm doing. Right? So just giving you some stuff to think about, guys. Dynex, and this is kind of why I was saying with Dynex, there's not as much upside. But again, if you think, like, to me, this one has the potential to really do way better things than Raven. Right? But if it reaches Raven's current market cap, it'd be 141%. Right? So these are just things to think about, things to consider, and why it's probably a pretty good time to start getting some of these coins. Like for me personally, that's what I'm looking at. These are the low cap gems that I'm looking at. I'm not really messing with the rest of them. These are the ones that, again, I'm involved in. I see the extreme potential, and we're just pretty much doing the game plan from last year, which worked beautifully, right? I know everybody has their opinions on how to stack these. I have mine, you're going to have yours, and that's cool. But at the end of the day, however you want to stack them, right now is a good time to stack, right? But again, like I mentioned at the beginning, with all this crap going on, we may go lower. So it doesn't mean I'm going in like 100% in right now. I am biting. I'm kind of waiting to see what happens with things. I may buy a little bit more. I may wait a little bit. It's totally up to you there as well. Because keep in mind, just like with this or any mining hardware, anything can happen next month. Everything went down 90% from where we're at right now, right? Especially with altcoins. BTC tends to be more stable, but altcoins, bro, like, look at how many of them already went like 90, 95% from where we were in the bull market, right? It can still continue to happen, right? So factor all of these things when you're weighing in, but look at your risk versus reward, right? Again, certain coins, freaking NUURI being that 36x, if it goes down lower, I'm just going to buy more, right? Because for me, right now, the risk versus reward is pretty good. Even if it goes down lower, I'm just going to buy more. And then it goes down lower, it buys more. It goes down super hard, going to go all in. Right? You have to look at these things. You have to look at the potentials. Because again, at the end of the day, is another 20% really going to make or break? If you think this thing's going to like 36x, go up 36,000. Like, you have to look at these things, right? Don't get too caught up in the numbers and the percentages. Look at your bull market predictions. Look at the market cap, where you think it's going to go, right? So let me know in the comments, guys, what you guys are doing. Are you guys doing any of that? Are you guys buying more hardware strictly? Are you guys mining and buying? Because you can do both, guys. You don't have to be exclusive, right? This is another thing that drives me nuts when people are so against like doing one or the other. Why not do both? Again, the goal is to stack, so let me know what you guys are doing. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching, and I am out.